Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation continues with Bara Maha in Rag Maj, Mahalla Panjwa. Aasarh Tapandha tis Lagai, har nahan jinna paas. Jag jeevan purkh tyag kai, manas sandhi aas. Due pae viguchiya, गल पईस जम की फास जेहा बीजै सो लुणे मथे जो लिखियास रैण विहाणी पछुताणी उठ चली गई निरास जिनके साधु भेटिया सो दरगह होए खलास कर कृपा प्रभ आपनी तेरे दर्शन होए प्यास प्रभ तुद बिन दूजा को नाही प्रभ तुद बिन दूजा को नहीं नानक की अरदास आषाढ़ सहंदा तिस लगै जिस मन हर चरण निवास. This segment of Bara Maha talks about the month of Aasarh, which falls between June and July and typically tends to be rather hot and uncomfortable. Aasarh Tapandha tis Lagai. But the Guru is saying the month of Aasarh feels hot. To those soul wives, he's referring to the self here, tis Lagai, those whose husband herself is not present with them. In other words, those who are living under this illusion of separation are hot and restless, like the month of Aasarh. Because having forsaken the life-giving self, in other words, forgetting what their true nature is, they have come to rely on the dictates of their ego mind, manasa sandhi as. So yes, in that state of mind, you are hot, restless, fearful. And the Guru goes on to actually stress that point by saying, Due pae viguchiye. Nothing but frustration comes from attachment to false ideas in a transient world. Due pae viguchiye. Viguchiye, frustration, lack of success. And what happens is it's like galapais jamaka fas. That existence is like having the noose of time wrap itself around the neck. Galapais jamaki fas. Because that is part of the problem, is the ego lives in temporal time, and temporality is what is the ground of all sorrow. Because then the mind is chasing after things that are not stable, and the mind itself then moves like a pendulum, unstable, and that causes anxiety. And the Guru cautions, Jeha bijay so lune, mathe jo likhas. As you sow, so you reap. And so does one write one's destiny. This is obviously a figure of speech, idiomatic, that we are really responsible for the life that we are making for ourselves. So that is something to be introspected over. What exactly does your life feel like? And that'll give you an answer as to what you've been doing. And life is passing by very fast. Rain Vihani is going by, because the passage of life is compared to the passing of the night. Rain Vihani Pachotani. Regret is what is left behind. Uth challi gaye niras. Challi is referring to the jeev, the self. Uth challi gaye niras. It leaves disappointed because the veil of separation persists and it still is unable to identify itself as the Har. And here is the hint for doing that while in this body and life. Jin o sadhu pete, so darge hoye khalas. The way to actually overcome this limitation, call it separation, a veil of separation, the fact is that it limits you within time. And the way to separate yourself out, to release yourself, is to find the perfected one. Jinko sadhu petiya. Those who have met the perfected enlightener, they are freed from the bondage of limitation. And naturally then, the submission is Prabh bin tuja ko nahi, Nanak ki ardas. Nanak's submission. There is no other than you, O Prabh. Kar kirpa, have mercy. Apni taras, apni kar kirpa, Prabh apni, have mercy. Show me your mercy. Tere darsan hoye pyas, that I may long after your vision. Give me that yearning, so that you can then, in your compassion, share that vision that I am looking for, that vision of union. Aasarh Tapandha tis lagai, jis man har charan nivas. So for those who have met or who followed the guidance of the perfected one, the Gur Enlightener, for them the month of Aasarh, despite its heat, is pleasant, suhanda, because they have found their true home at the feet of the Har Self, meaning that they have discovered who they really are through the process of Shabad. So in India, this month is very uncomfortable and is being used as a metaphor for the restlessness of the mind that arises from a sense of separation. Because the ego causes this illusion of separation. And because our time is limited, we need to seek guidance on how to overcome this sense of separation so that we are truly in sync with ourselves. The good enlightener will train the mind to recognize. It helps us to understand, recognize the dynamic source behind the visible self, so to speak, the one that is inhabiting this body. Because the Har is intangible, it cannot be seen. But that is the metaphysical observer within us. That is us. So we require specialized training, and that is called the Gur, which is innate in us, in order to perceive that Har Self. And what that does is it gives you, first of all, intuitive awareness. The intuition, what we call gut feel sometimes. And then from there on, you begin to identify with the self. And our life's purpose is to recognize our true nature, which is the self. And once having done that, to then be guided by its wisdom in our engagement with the world. On that note, until the next time, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.